You know, what's funny about the Chris Paul legacy is that it does feel like he has to win a championship because he's not vertical. You know, he's not a wizard. He's not Westbrook athletic. He's not as dynamic. And so a lot of the stuff he does is intelligence and subtle and nuanced and smart and leadership and coaching. And fans struggle with that, Chris. They need to see it. And a lot of what he does is really clever and very nuanced. And you have to be in a huddle, at practice, on the floor to see it or hear it. So I do kind of think, I thought about this driving in today. I do think winning a title for him really does, Chris, elevate him to another level that he deserves, but I don't think people would give it to him unless he won. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like, what I feel like is right now he's kind of grouped together with a John Stockton, a Jason Kidd, maybe Steve Nash, some would throw in there, and a few others. Winning this championship would separate him from them. And for me, what it would do is make him a top 5 point guard of all time, number 5 on my list. And many other people are saying the same thing. You put him there with Magic, Steph, Oscar, and Isaiah Thomas. And here's how big it would be, Colin, if Chris Paul leads this team to the championship. He would be one of only 3 small players to lead a team to the NBA championship in the 74-year history of the league.
Wow.
The other 2, Isaiah Thomas and Steph Curry. That's it. He would be the 3rd. And so this would be huge for him. It's the only thing that's really missing from his resume. Some people might say an MVP, but Isaiah Thomas doesn't have an MVP. Nobody thinks Steve Nash is better than him. If he wins this championship, it will be huge. And it's such a glaring absence on his resume, in part, Colin, because some of the losses that have kept him from winning the championship, some of them have been on him.
Yeah.
Whether it's a bad turnover, a mistake, a bad game at the wrong time, or just injuries. But if he goes ahead and wins this championship, it'll erase all of that, put that stuff on the periphery, and this will be the crowning achievement of his career.
It's some are saying, the Suns are lucky. LeBron AD, AD is hurt, blah, blah, blah. Your takeaway on the critics of the Suns saying it's been a fairly easy, negotiable route to the finals.
I mean, it's undeniable that the injuries have helped them. But here's the thing. The Suns were injured too. The Suns, Chris Paul, we know, was playing with the bad shoulder in the first series. And by the way, the Lakers still had a guy named LeBron James, all right? And then in the second round, okay, Jamal Murray wasn't there. That didn't stop Denver from playing well at the end of the regular season and beating Damian Lillard in Portland. Now, I'm not saying Portland was on the level of Phoenix, obviously, but going into the playoffs, I think people had Portland, Phoenix. They're kind of close. You had Dame versus Chris, things like that. So, and they swept them, swept the MVP. And then with the Clippers, yes, I do believe if Kawhi Leonard was there, the Clippers win that series. However, Chris Paul, because of COVID, was out for the first 2 games. Chris Paul played with torn ligaments in his wrist. Cam Payne got hurt in that series with the ankle injury. Devin Booker suffered a broken nose. Like, they were banged up too. So it's not fair to hold it against them that they have, been the least injured of the teams. Because here's the other thing, Colin. It's not like they're an 8th seed or a 7th seed. They were the 2nd seed.
Right.
So they showed throughout the regular season they're a legitimate contending team.
Joy and I had this discussion yesterday. It's pretty interesting. You would like to give Chris Paul a long contract. And in baseball, many of these 8 and 10-year deals, you just sort of bake in the last 4 years. The player wins, you get hosed, right? He's no longer great. But Chris Paul's interesting. What if Devin Booker wins the MVP of the finals? Certainly plausible. And DeAndre Ayton is actually as good or better than Giannis. Outplays him on certain nights. And then you own the Suns and you're like, I don't know. Chris Paul's fine. But if Booker takes over the series and looks a little like a young Kobe and you're like, well, that's the guy. And by the way, they've won games in the playoffs without Chris Paul, the COVID protocol. Phoenix is in a weird situation where, Chris is older. He's had injury issues. Do you necessarily give him that 4-year contract if Booker's the MVP and Ayton outplays Giannis?
No, it's a great question. And sometimes I can be a softie. And if I was Robert Sarver, the owner of the Suns, if he leads us to a championship, then I'm willing to give him the 3 years, $100 million. And I know that last year on the deal, yeah, it's going to kill me because he's not going to be very good. But we got a championship. And who knows? Maybe they can, can they win another one in the next 2 years? We'll see. But look, here's where it gets sticky. What if the Knicks or someone else decides we want to get in a bidding war with the Suns? And we'll try to take him. Now, Chris doesn't need to leave. I don't know why in the world he would leave Phoenix at this point. But what if he was entertaining it for the money? The Suns have the trump card in that they can offer him 4 years.
Right.
Now, 4 years at big money, that's scary because now you're looking at 2 years of him being bad.
Right.
I do think Chris is the type of guy that, he may not be starting at the end of his contract, even if it's only 3 years.
Yeah.
Maybe Campaign or someone else by that point is starting. I think Chris could accept it, but it still jacks up your cap. But you know what? For a championship, for Devin Booker, Devin Booker wants him to get paid.
Yeah.
He's got a great relationship with Monty Williams. I think it's worth doing it just for keeping the goodwill in the locker room and among your players.
Yeah, the other thing, Chris, is that Cameron Payne has emerged as a guy who can score points. The advantage the Suns have, which the Brooklyn Nets don't, is that if you pay Chris Paul, you don't have to play him 44 minutes. He could get down next year to 28 minutes a game. I mean, these playoffs, they've won without him 31 minutes. So if I'm Robert Sarver, the owner, I say to myself, I may just go to Chris and say, Chris, I want you to play 60 regular season games. We'll give you 12 road games off. I want this thing to work for 3 years, and Cameron Payne's going to play more. I think Chris Paul would accept that role. Do you?
No, that makes sense. Yes, I think he would. We'll see how well he's playing. But, yeah, I think Chris would accept that. And, look, Robert Sarver has been cheap for years.
Right.
That's one reason they didn't make the playoffs for a decade. And so now pay up a little bit. You're getting the championship maybe. We'll see. Not writing the Bucks off, but, yeah, I agree with you on that one.
All right, finally, DeMarcus DeRozan to the Lakers is a rumor, credible source. What do you make of it?
Look, if I'm either team, I wouldn't jump into this trade. If I'm the Lakers, I like DeMar DeRozan. But if I'm the Lakers, I still want to poke around and see is there a better move I can make. And if I'm the Spurs and and obviously DeRozan's a free agent, but maybe there's a better sign and trade that they can make and get more than, say, a Kyle Kuzma, who's solid, and a Montrezl Harrell in a draft pick. So I wouldn't rush into it if I'm either team. Obviously, the draft is coming up. That's when a lot of moves are made. DeMar, though, he would help. He wouldn't have been a good fit with LeBron in the past when LeBron was the entire system, right? Because when LeBron was the system, he needed jump shooters. Yeah, he worked with D-Wade. It was a different NBA back then. The three-point shot wasn't quite as prominent. But now LeBron was better lately with guys that can shoot the basketball around him. And DeRozan, that's just not his forte as far as the three-point shot. But now LeBron's off the ball more. You can even put him at the point guard and have him play like a real point guard. And DeRozan, I think, would work because their defense was great, right? They just couldn't score, especially when Anthony Davis was ailing.
That's right.
So this would give them a third scorer. So I'd put it on the back burner, keep an eye on it, but I wouldn't jump into it if I'm the Lakers.
Great stuff. Chris Broussard, Fox Sports NBA analyst. Final start tonight. Can't wait. Thanks, buddy. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.